Hello, hello. My name is Niger Chambers from Big O Belt Media. It's a pleasure. And I'm super excited to talk about this because this was on my radar at Tribeca and I missed it and I've been beating myself up about it. And I love film festivals and film festivals it gives you that early, that way before anybody else opportunity to just check something out. And then when I didn't see a release date, I was like, oh my God, please, please, please. But finally, the world and myself are going to get a chance to be able to see it February 12th. So yeah, I did get to see it in preparation for this. And I want to start off by just asking, especially for my emotions from going back to last year's Tribeca to now getting ready to have your release, what has been your two emotions for this ride and the anticipation for the world release?
Well, we worked on this film for many years, and it's always a joy when you can not only have a premiere at Tribeca, but start to share it with so many communities at other festivals and also through the Impact campaign, where we are bringing this film to students and community organizations. And so the reception, like we love this story, obviously, but to hear the reception from all these audiences of various backgrounds, where people say, we thought we knew about uh, who the first astronaut candidates were. And the range of interviews that we have in the film are not just about the history, but it's also about the emotional journeys that our characters have gone on. To be centered on Ed Dwight and to celebrate him, I think, is just one of the most wonderful parts of this film for all participants, because without Ed Dwight and his bravery, um, we oftentimes don't know the shoulders that we stand upon, and that he is here to receive his flowers has been an incredibly gratifying part of this very long filmmaking journey.
Agreed.
I
Hey,
agree with
hey,
that, and I'll say one thing. Today we're in Houston for another special screening at Space Center Houston, and part of one of the best things of screening the film in festivals and all these different places is that sometimes we've been lucky enough to have some of the protagonists with us at the screenings, and whether it's Leland Melvin, one of our executive producers and former astronaut, to Ed, to Charlie Bolden, to Victor Glover, who will go to the moon in one of the next missions. It's been incredible to share the film and their story with them and see their reactions.
yeah, I just cannot imagine. And I'll be very frank that I was just a bowl of tears just watching this because it was so inspirational. And, as a black man, and no matter how much education I've been taught and received over the years, still discovering more Black history and kind of just wondering how was this never taught and how did I miss, but then obviously still have an opportunity to learn about it. Is this a beautiful thing? And I thank the two of you too for the work and the diligence of getting these stories and stories told for the world to know about because it's very important. And then while it is very important for Black history, it's important for all history. It's American history. So this was just one of those documentaries. I'm already highly suggesting folks, preparing to tell folks per embargo that this is one you definitely want to see because it's just that moving. Before I go to my next question, just for audio purposes, really, really quickly here, can you two both state your names and your titles, please?
Lisa Cortes, Cortes. Oh, is this, is that okay? Or I mean, is it more,
No, that's fine. Just
do you
name
need,
and title. Yeah,
okay, so you don't need spelling. Okay, so Lisa Cortez, producer, director, The Space Race.
awesome.
And my long Spanish last name and name are Diego Hurtado de Mendoza, and I'm also one of the producers and directors of the space race.
Thank you so much, Diego and Lisa. Yeah, so going to the next question, I love a good documentary, and while this one has so much heart, emotion, substance, and just rich history, and having the folks, the interviews and the testimonies from the folks a part of it is truly special. You know, I want to talk about something that was like the icing of the cake. Now, I sort of expect this from you, Lisa, so I gotta ask about you and Diego's conversation about the music, the extra layer of celebration within. And I mean, granted, from one moment wanting to cry to the next moment wanting to party and dance around and celebrate, you kept the emotions flowing for sure. But could you talk about the selections with the music, and why these songs and particular songs, which has always been important for us in the culture, but what was the sort of the vetting process with that and the conversations you had with Diego about these selections?
Are you referring to Groove Line, which is one of the use of Groove Line in our film? That's one of my favorite moments.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
You already know.
music selections came from, some of our music needle drops, like Groove Line, was our editor, um, Robert Martinez, who has great sense of music. And Diego and I both love all kinds of music. And I think one of the things we spent a lot of time with was applying notes for the score that Yonique Bontemps and Anna Drubrich composed, which is, the more you sit with it, you go, wait a minute, there are, you know, it's interesting because Yonique is Haitian American, Anna is Russian.
Mhm.
Uh, there are hints of Russian melodies, there are African drums, there are so many layers to the score, so much beautiful nuance. It speaks to the broadness. There's, Latin music. And so music is a part of extending the emotionality of the scenes and also looking at the underlying cultures that are one encompasses within the scope of the storytelling.
Anything you want to add to that, Diego?
Yeah, I mean, look, we had so much fun. Lisa and I shared playlists for months. We had hundreds of Cuban songs and we had Latin music and we had, you know, great American music. And we just kept talking about one, we always wanted to have a sense of magic in the film. So we talked about magical realism. And then Lisa said, well, we got to have Afrofuturism. And so
Yeah.
all these were like the conversations that really took us towards the use of music that you see, the needle drops. And then working with Jonique and Anna was incredible. Like one of the things they brought is the capacity to create themes for our subjects. So it's very subtle, but every time you see one of our protagonists, they have a certain sound. So, crafting how, our subjects sounded was super exciting with them, for example.
Amazing. Yeah. Like I said, with everything that you already got with the documentary, the music was just the soundtrack was just like the icing of the cake. And I thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah, you two did a fantastic
It's
job.
fun. It's a great story. Look, we're working with, like, we had to pinch ourselves. We're working with astronauts. It's the
Yeah.
coolest thing. So it's like, how can we make it even cooler? How we let people understand the excitement of what they were going through? And so sometimes you gotta have fun. They talk about having fun a lot. Our astronauts don't, they went through a lot, and yet they always say, at that point in my career, I realized that I'd done so much in my life, and what I wanted to do is have fun. And so
Yeah.
you have that sense of fun in the film.
It's got to be one of the most corniest puns, but like astronauts and the way they're able to stay grounded through things.
Yeah. We like to say that they've all lived like the equivalent of five lives in one. Like one of
Yeah.
our lives is like they have five and they've done so much and yet they're so humble.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, another element to this that I just thought was so special was the flowers given to the legendary and iconic Nichelle Nichols. I want to talk about what was the process but behind featuring her and what she's done in terms of just advocating for diversity, inclusion, being a techie as it is, being I guess the first glimmer of hope that there was a space for people of color in these positions and all the way to her last breath, doing this all with a smile, knowing that this was at time almost even an impossible role, but she just continued to thrive, be a trailblazer, and open up doors and opportunities for folks. Can you talk about when her name got on the table in terms of making sure that she was celebrated in this?
Well, in our storytelling structure, we were always looking at what is happening in culture that's in alignment with the journey of all of our characters, particularly as it is connected to NASA and the expansion of the program. And so we were aware of some footage, and then we did a deeper dive and found more archival footage that we thought was really great, that really underscored the commitment that she made and at the bequest of Dr. King to be an ambassador. And we oftentimes forget how change comes from many places, and certainly her visibility was a part of the social cultural change and advocacy in a very focused, intentional way. And in telling this story, we understand that there are many forces that have brought us first of all to the moment with the shuttle, which allowed, through its technological advances, for all kinds of people to participate. But we would not get to the shuttle and to the greater diversity of crew if it wasn't in keeping with assistance from Nichelle and her voice and advocacy.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful moment where, we talked about this a lot. Lisa and I think in our work really look at how can you talk about certain subjects through a language of pop culture. And that was just one more of these elements. I mean, in our story in particular, NASA itself is one of the most iconic and pop culture elements that the United States has. Around the world, people look at the US and know the US because of astronauts, implanting the flag on the moon. But, people like Nichelle Nichols and actors that are also part of that, how we understand reality through that filter of something that we all love. And so her story really contributed that way.
Yeah, yeah. I again, as I started this off, I thank you both for the diligence in this. It's super important and beyond just presenting the information and the history. I feel this is very thought out, planned, very considerate, very inclusive. While this could have just been one tract about one particular person going through different generations of astronauts, them having a conversation about legacy was so powerful. That's a documentary in its own right there. Get them in the three and do a round table. I mean, there those conversations were just moving. And I found myself in a moment of, I think as a kid, and I think a lot of other kids can attest of saying, I want to be an astronaut. And it was just this wonky idea of like, man, it'd be so cool to do so. And it just doesn't happen. And to see these folks talk about those same dreams and then taking the steps to do so and other elements, societal elements, stripping that possibility away, and then why the one person's dream may not have fully come to fruition, but it inspired others. I'm curious to know, as the filmmakers here, what were some of the elements in this that inspired you all, or that you kept very dear and close to your heart upon either the research or just either the completion of the film entirely?
I'll let you go first, Diego. I got to ponder on.
I look, we've been asked before something similar, and there's so many things we've learned from them. Making this film was a joy for us because we were constantly talking. It was a conversation between Lisa and I about what certain things meant. And they're the most inspiring people. I mean, everything they do is sort of a lesson where you can learn something from it. And for me, I think one thing that struck me is that the humility in that we constantly refer to them as multi-hyphenate. They're all engineers, jet fighter pilots, astronauts. Like one of those would be enough. You would be enough if you become an astronaut. But no, they have full-fledged careers in engineering, and they've started companies, and some of them are doctors and have careers in their fields. And everything they do it with a passion, with a commitment that is so inspiring. I mean, you just want to be better when you're around them. You want to do better.
Mm,
Is because it's just for them, good is not enough. They
yeah.
can always do better. And then once they become really successful at what they do, what's incredible is the next thing that's important for them is helping others get there. And that blows my mind. That it's just such a simple concept, and yet if we all did that, the world would be such a better place. It's not about
Amen.
themselves, and they keep repeating it. It's not about me. It's about, the people that came before me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking to you about this. And then I want to do the same for others. That was the lesson that I learned from them. That it's to me, it stayed with me.
Yeah.
I think we always we spent time with Guy Bluford this summer, with when the 40th anniversary of his flight was commemorated, and Guy is like, yeah, I'm an astronaut, but I'm more concerned. It's really about my work in science and my work as an engineer. But even now, Guy is very concerned about certain candidates, like when are they going to fly? I hope they're going to fly soon. More so than what we all see as this incredibly huge historic accomplishment. Um, this great sense of community, and care for one another is really moving.
I agree, Diego. If we could just all channel just 10% of the empathy that these folks have, we'll just be an overalling better society. I do have to wrap, and I just want to quickly ask you all because I figured with all of the different things that the documentary covered, the nicknames, the groups everybody had, did you all collectively, as the filmmakers, have you all had a group name? I mean, when you look at this cast here, it's so diverse. I'm sure you all have probably got together and said, "We are the whatevers." Has that been a discussion? Do you have a group chat of sorts?
Our group chat is Space Race Team.
We should have had a nickname, a better one.
Well, listen, you all have time as the world gets ready to prepare for this fantastic documentary. The Space Race will be available February 12th. Diego and Lisa, thank you so much for your time today.